am super excited for our next guest.
Yeah.
Obviously, having a little being biased, being from New England. This guy, hands down, you look in the dictionary, you see blue collar baller. But that being said, he's a two-time Super Bowl champion, fifth-round draft pick, 11-year NFL veteran. It's my honor to welcome Rob Ninkovich to the No Backing Down podcast. Rob, how you doing today?
Where's the applause? I need some fake applause, like a massive crowd. I know this is COVID, no crowds.
We're gonna edit that in after.
Yeah, do the cheer, do the cheer. I'm doing well. Just dealing with the craziness like everybody else. Three kids at home and trying to keep everyone sane. Wife's in the house a lot, not able to get out, so that's tough too. And then why not get a puppy, an 8-week-old puppy? So I have a lot of craziness going on in the house, but it's fun. I mean, there's some silver linings to this whole thing. I mean, unfortunately, I know that the virus really sucks, but on the flip side of that, I was home with my parents for 2 months in the summer. I wouldn't have able to have been home with them and had the time with them ever, so it's actually been able to just fill my cup up with family time. I've definitely been able to do that.
Well, that's good. And it's refreshing to hear that, Rob, because you obviously being an 11-year NFL vet, spent tremendous amount of time away from your family. And I'm sure they're appreciating that as I am doing the same, even though, yes, you summed it up with the missus.
Yeah.
Time and I'm watching a similar movie, but that, and again, we're going to jump right into this, Rob. Obviously you had a great career, but let's face it, it wasn't all vertical for you. And, you get drafted by the Saints in the 5th round. You have a, solid camp. You make the 53. A year, you have an injury a year later, you get cut, and then you sign with the Dolphins and you get cut again. This is the No Backing Down podcast, but you didn't let that define you right there. You had some adversity. How did you pick yourself up after getting cut a couple times before you really got on the path less traveled?
I think that early in my career, being drafted and playing, I played in 3 games in my rookie year, and then I blew my knee out and I had the ACL injury. So I almost felt like I came in as a rookie. I had a great camp. Then it gave me the confidence to understand, look, I'm going against a Pro Bowl tackle here, and I'm beating him often. So it gave me the confidence that I knew I had what it takes to play in the NFL. I knew that I had it in me to get to the quarterback, all the things you have to do as a defensive end. And then I had the injury. And, the crazy thing about football is you never know when that's going to happen. You could be, super confident in playing the best ball you've ever played, and you have an injury that takes you out. Then it's like hitting the reset button. And for me, as a 5th-round pick, I didn't have any starts under my belt. I didn't have the draft status to help me stick around. So once I got hurt, I understood, look, this is a business. And if you're not either highly paid or a high draft pick, they're probably not going to keep you around. So my next year, I came back from that rookie injury, had another little injury, not as bad, but it was like an MCL tear. So I think when I tore my MCL, they just were like, all right, well, this guy's going to continue to get hurt all the time, which the thing about football is it's like driving your car. You drive your car, you're great. Then you have a fender bender. It's like, well, what the heck? I didn't, it's not my fault that this is happening to me. It just happened. So, I had to get cut there for the Saints. And then I got picked up by Miami in 2007. And that was a terrible year because those guys really sucked. They were 1-15. And I didn't really even play. They had kind of their guys, so to speak. And that's one thing I talk about as the experience that I have in the NFL. There's some teams that just are dysfunctional, and they're going to play the guys that they paid or the guys that they went out and scouted, because that's a reflection on their scouting and what they see in a player. So they're not going to kind of comparable to a walk-on in college to start over a full scholarship player. If the walk-on starts over the scholarship player, it looks bad for the coach that recruited the scholarship player. So that's just like in the pros. When a guy that's not really highly drafted or doesn't have a big contract plays over somebody that does, well, then it looks poorly on them. So in Miami, they were playing guys that were terrible, and they were 0-10, and I'd go to the coach and ask, like, hey, what do I got to do to get on the field? And he basically told me, like, you really can't get on the field. It's not me. I don't want you here. It's somebody else that brought you here. And that's a dysfunctional. That's just the dysfunction in some of these places, these organizations, to where they never really win. So, fast forward 07, I'm on, on and off. I had played 4 games in that season. I didn't ever play on defense. 08, Parcells comes in. They moved me to inside linebacker. Really I've never played inside linebacker. So imagine doing something your whole career, and then they say, oh, we're going to switch you to another position. Like, there's no confidence there. You can't rely on your skills, because I didn't have any, and I didn't know anything about the position. So that was kind of the writing on the wall. They put me on practice squad, told me to learn the position. It just wasn't my thing. So then I had the opportunity to go somewhere else, and the Saints were going to reclaim me, and I thought I had an opportunity to play, which they really never were going to give me one. So I went back to the Saints. They wanted me to long snap, of all things, which is ridiculous. A long snapper. Now, I got a lot of, 100 plus starts in my career as a linebacker in the NFL, and I was a long snapper at one point. So the best thing that ever happened to me was Sean Payton called me in his office. He cut me the day of camp in 2009, and I got a call from Bill Belichick, and he said, look, I can't guarantee anything. I can't promise you anything, just an opportunity, and whatever you make of it, it's up to you. And then I came into New England. That first year, I understood, hey, I'm going to run down on kickoffs. I'm going to play punt team. I'm going to do anything that I can. But when the lights were on and I had an opportunity to get to the quarterback, at the end of the day, if you can hit the quarterback and you can be disruptive, you're going to play. So 09, I was special teams. Then 2010, I started, on the starting defense, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I mean, it all went from there.
Yeah, we're going to revisit that Patriot run right there, because that was a great one. But before, that's actually probably a great Jeopardy question, Rob, in terms of you being a long snapper, because not too many people know that.
No.
I took pride in representing the highest paid long snapper in the NFL in 2018. So
I don't know if you watched that game last night, but the long snapper is vital. That Bears Viking matchup, the Vikings long snapper dribbled one back to the field goal team. They missed the field goal, the PAT, and they could have potentially lost the game because of that. So the long snapper, if your name is never known, you're a good long snapper.
Damn right. And my long snapper, who's unemployed, is actually in Minnesota right now, quarantining for his opportunity to work out. So we will see. So please, football gods, give some Rob Ninkovich anoints blessings on Andrew DePaula. But let's jump back, Rob. You go through high school, great career, and then you go to JUCO. A lot of people didn't know before you went to Purdue. But I think one thing, like, I've known Rob for 10 years, and that's one thing I just utmost respect is A, he's genuine, but B, he's a blue collar and he's a genuine person. Your father, iron worker, he has you on the 19 stories high in Chicago, and you're hard hat, lunch peel, going to work, and he wanted to teach you the value of education to get your education. I think today's society, you've got a lot of guys are entitled. No one wants to get their hands dirty. Yeah. That was brutal at a young age that obviously played great for you. Can you maybe just explain a little bit that time in your life, relationship with your dad? Because I know your dad's pretty special to you.
Yeah. My dad is the guy that I looked up to the most growing up. He's the hardest, working guy, work ethic's insane. I mean, 7 days a week, my whole life, he's basically just been working. So, when I was 18 years old, said, hey, you want to make some money? I said, hell yeah, I want to make some money. So I was working nights, and if you can work if you're an iron worker and you do the labor, you can make a good living for your family. So, at the time, I think it was $32 an hour was the going rate for, a iron worker at that time. I think it's definitely different now, but if you work nights, you get double time. So I was making like $64 an hour when I was 18, but I was working a 9 to 9 shift. So I was working a 12-hour shift at night, and I'd do that for 2 weeks, and then I'd get a check and I'd just put it in the bank and think I was the richest kid around. So my dad would when I did that, he would just say, look, I know this is great now because it's like sports, ironworking and laboring and doing all the things that are tough. It's great when you're young. It's tough when you're old. So he's like, you don't want to be outside when it's 0 degrees, sitting on a piece of iron when you're 55 years old, doing this since you were 18 all the way up till you're 65. You don't want to do that your whole life. I've done it. Your grandfather's done it. But it takes its toll on you. There's risk for, serious injuries, death. He wanted me to do something different. He wanted me to go to school. He wanted me to have a path, not as physically demanding, which, hey, I went and played in the NFL for 11 years. But I think that mentality of hard work and consistency and being a man to provide for your family, that's basically what I was taught. If you're the man of the house, you go to work, you provide for your family. Whatever it takes, you got to do it because food has to be on the table, and that's your job. So for me, going to work early, I think that story got twisted a little bit. I was like 150 feet. It wasn't 19. 19 is pretty tall. I don't know if I could do 19 stories, but I was up in a basket. I mean, my cousin was the foreman on the job, so he was making sure that I was tied off and I wasn't, about to fall off and hurt myself. But yeah, it was a very eye-opening experience. You see a lot of different age groups. I was working with a group of guys. You'd have anywhere from 35-year-old guys to a 60-year-old man that was just waiting to get retired so he can go fishing for the last, I hope I get 5 more years, retirement, then they can pat me on the face with a shovel. But my dad just taught me the valuable lessons of hard work. Nothing's ever given. Nobody's going to give you anything in this world. The ones that go out there and they take it and they work for it, those are the ones that really go far.
Yeah, that's that Croatian, I think,
yeah.
DNA in you. Obviously being Italian, I always, talk. My grandfather came over. His family had $50 in their wallet from Calabria, Italy, and my father, like you said, it's refreshing to hear. Always preached the work ethic and being honorable. And those are the things that, being an underdog, if you can evolve and do something really special. We won't hold our co-hosts against that, Rob. They're Greek. So Ari and
don't get them on the vodka. They'll start breaking dishes all over the place.
They will. We're going to talk alcohol a little bit, but obviously that's a great story, and for our listeners especially to realize that, especially the underdog, hey, if you work hard, good things can happen. You get your diploma, you play at Purdue, have a great career there. We obviously talked a little bit about 5th round pick, and it's funny though, Rob, how the first couple teams, they didn't get it with you, and like you said, out of position. Happens to a lot of guys, but a lot of guys are part of that average 3.3. They don't get the opportunity or have the ability to persevere through adversity like you did. Bill, obviously, there's no one better in the business that's been able to really identify talent at a cheap labor and get their careers going. So as you gave a little tutorial on New England, for our listeners, just to let you know, Rob Ninkovich, 460 tackles, 46 sacks, 5 interceptions, 10 forced fumbles, and 14 fumble recoveries. That is serious production. And not only did he come to New England as a teams player, he leads the team in 12, 13, and 14 with 8 sacks a year. Rob, can you maybe tell us when you started to play, did you in the back of your mind a little fuel to the fire with the Saints and the Dolphins in terms? Did you think about that ever? Like, I can't wait. Because let's face it, sometimes the best revenge is massive success.
Yeah, but I think Sean Payton to this day still brings my name up. So that's a great thing when he says, look, we've missed on guys in the past, and we got to do our best to make sure that they don't go somewhere else and have long careers, because it definitely makes them look like they missed out. And for me, I can remember 2009, I had a little nick. I got banged up a little bit, but we were playing the Saints in New Orleans, and I just told myself, I don't care what I got to do. I got to play in this game. I wasn't even playing on defense. I said, if I run out on kickoff, all I need to do is hit a few people. I'll feel good about myself. So anytime we played the Saints, it was a great feeling. The comeback at home against the Saints where they were all huddled around the football, and we come back and win that game in the corner of the end zone, if you remember that, with Thompson in the back. So it was always fun to beat them. Miami was always fun to beat Miami. But for me, I think that it was just confidence in myself. I never doubted my abilities. And for someone to really maximize what their God-given talents are, everyone has a talent. Everyone's given a gift. Now it's up to you to maximize those gifts and maximize those talents. If you're kind of floating through life and you never really put in the work, then you might let some of those gifts go to waste. But for me, I was confident in my abilities, and some windows close on you before you're ready to get through it, and you hit the window and you gotta, it's like a bird that flies in the glass, right? They get stunned, they shake it off, they get back up, they fly around, they find the next opening, and then they get through it, and then they're off to the races. So for me, it was waiting for the opportunity to capitalize on the open window. I sensed it in New Orleans. I got hurt. It sidetracked me. Miami, window was closed. New Orleans, went back, window closed. New England, window open, fly through it, never look back, keep going.
You did. And Rob, you know, obviously your first couple of years here, you get to a Super Bowl. You play in the Super Bowl, you lose. Can you maybe, our listeners, that's a brutal feeling. Obviously, if you look at it in life, you come in second place or you go that far, especially in a parity-driven league, that's a very successful year. But when you come short of that trophy, that Lombardi trophy there, I sat having clients in that stadium. That was the first Super Bowl I ever attended because I made a pact to myself. I'd only go to a Super Bowl unless I had a client playing. And that hurt me, but I can't even imagine how it hurt you. Can you maybe elaborate how you picked up off of that? Because there was definitely a drought, you know, from the last.
Yeah, it was 10 years. It was 10 years. So everyone was talking about the Patriots and, oh, I thought you had a ring. And I'm like, no, I didn't have a ring. They had a 04 to 14 was the drought. It was 10 years. So it's a long time. In that time, they lost 07. They lost 12. I was a part of 12. When you lose a Super Bowl, you'd almost rather not even get there. That's how devastating that whole situation is. I don't even have my second place ring because according to Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. So in football, it's all about getting the Super Bowl ring, the actual Super Bowl ring. And in 2012, we were really close. We all know how that ended. Didn't end well for us. And I just kept telling myself, I got to get back to this game because when you don't, in the game of football, you realize how vital every single opportunity is and how fleeting your career is. Everyone gets hurt every year. Guys go down every single year with massive injuries, and you don't know if it's going to be you. You have no idea who it's going to be. So when you get to a Super Bowl and you lose it, you think about all the training that goes into it, the running, the lifting, that's risk for an injury. Then you go to OTAs and minicamp, that's risk. Then you go to training camp, that's big risk. And you go through the season, tons of risk on getting hurt to where you can't even play in that game. Then you get to that game. If you get to that game healthy, you're a blessed person. So for me to get to 3 of those games and actually start 3 games, 3 Super Bowls, and not have to go through IR or anything that I had in the past, I was always just very grateful and blessed that I was able to play in those games. When we won in 14, in a Super Bowl and stakes are that high, it always comes down to one play. And whoever can execute and make that play, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
They are. And that
I easily could have been 0-3. Malcolm Butler could have missed that pick. Or Lynch could have ran it in. We don't get the comeback against the Falcons. I could have been sitting here with no rings. I'd have been like the old Buffalo Bills, like just sour. But it didn't work out that way because we made that play. And when you make those plays, you're forever a Super Bowl champion. So for me, I'm blessed. And after 16, I knew I was calling it a career. I knew I didn't want to play too much longer after that. I started to feel the effects of just playing linebacker for so long. It takes its wear on you. And every single year when you're in your 30s and you got a young kid coming in who's 21, 22 years old, and it wears on you mentally. And the game of football is, I'd say it's more mental than it is physical. And we know how physical it is. So just imagine how mental it is then.
Nope. And that's a good narration on that. Rob, can you maybe take the listeners through hoisting the Lombardi trophy when obviously that final horn went off in Glendale, which it's crazy. If you look at the miraculous plays with Butler, with the
catch on the sideline. Yeah.
Yeah, all that. Can you maybe just elaborate a little bit on when the feeling that went through you? when you knew you were, because let's face it, Rob, football, as you mentioned, you got to have so much luck, but to go an entire career, a lot of great players that are enshrined in Canton don't have the Super Bowl ring. You got two of them, but can you maybe that first one, how it felt for you, how it felt for your family?
Yeah, no, I mean it's an unbelievable feeling, and for me it was just overwhelming emotions. I was in my 9th year at the time, so when you play 9 years and you realize every single year after 9, 10 is just bonus rounds. So I knew at 9 years that I had achieved everything that I ever could have possibly achieved. When I was a little kid, I had a little list of things I wanted to do in football. And I look back at that list and I crossed off every single thing. And that's not just by chance. That doesn't happen just, oh, it happened because I wrote it down. It's because I wrote it down and I looked at it year after year after year, and I worked and I worked and I lifted and I ran, and I didn't listen to people, because if you start to listen to what other people say about you, I would read an article about myself in 07 that Rob Ninkovich can't go to the bathroom without tearing an ACL. Like, does that motivate you, or does that discourage someone? For me, it was a motivator. And I could remember just looking at stuff like that and saying, okay, you think that about me? I'll make sure that you remember my name in a different light. So it's up to each and every one of us to really focus on what your passion is, and focus on what is getting you up every day. Towards the end of my career, 2015, 16, my passion started to go towards my children and wanting to leave a legacy for them and be around a long time. And we know football is a pretty rough sport, and the way that you had to play it, the way I had to play it, I didn't think that me going out there and put myself in a position that could potentially affect me down the road was the greatest decision. After, I was driving with my mom after 16, driving from the stadium in Texas where we played, and after we beat the Falcons, and my mom said, well, what else do you have to do? What else do you have to prove? Like, what is there left to do? And I really was nothing, because you could say money to people, but money doesn't really do much. There's NFL football players that have made $100 million. They've never won a playoff game. Nobody remembers their contracts. Nobody remembers how much money they made. Now, yeah, it might be nice that they got a lot of money in the bank, but at the end of the day, they have no substance to their career. And if you work your butt off your whole life and you get to the league and you really don't have anything to show for it except for a bank account, then that's not the type of thing I wanted. So I knew that I had won the Super Bowls. I had built a name and a brand for myself off of this guy's durable, loyal, dependable, and I wanted to go off on my own terms. So after 16, I knew it. I almost knew it before the game. I'm like, man, this might be my last game. This might be the last time I lace up my cleats. And I was okay with that. And it didn't really affect me. Some guys can't let it go. Some guys, the feeling of being a professional athlete, some people can't let that feeling go. For me, I'd rather the feeling of my kids jumping on me. That makes me happy. That makes me more happy. The only thing I do miss is hitting a quarterback now.
Amen. Well said. Rob, can you maybe take us through the locker room down? You guys are losing, not playing the best football in Super Bowl 51 against the Falcons. At one point down 28-3. Obviously, it is pretty humorous today, all the jokes you hear about that. But can you maybe elaborate, maybe Bill's talk to the team or some things that were said? Because you guys came out a completely different team. And let's face it, a lot of championships games are won in the second half on who has the ability to make the adjustments, which Bill has done. And, obviously the rest of that personnel. But can you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, look, there was no panic. There was no finger pointing. We came into the locker room. Everyone understood, look, we were playing bad football. We didn't play well at all. And when you're on that stage and every eye is on you, it's embarrassing. It was an embarrassing feeling to know we're down 28-3, not even competitive in the biggest game of the year, where every single person is glued to their TVs. Every person that paid a lot of money to be in these seats to watch us play, they deserve to see a lot better football team and a lot better football than we were putting out there on the field. And so it wasn't really like, it wasn't a crazy, screaming. There was no like rah chant talk to get us motivated. We all just looked around and we said, hey, look, if we want to get back in this thing, it's up to us. And a half of football, you could do a lot of things in one half of football. Now, you got to play the other half to win a football game. So whatever you do in one half, you can do it in the second half. And for us, we felt that if we could just play better and have that momentum shift, that we might potentially put ourselves – we didn't think about winning that game. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to win this thing. It was like, hey, let's give ourselves at least some dignity here to where we look like we're fighting for this thing and have some respect, get some respect, gain some respect. Because if we lost that game 40-something to 10, there had been no respect for us. Oh, they shouldn't have even been in this game. Other teams should have been here, might have been better. I wasted my time and money. So we just wanted to go out there, be respectable. And then we felt the shift happen, the Falcons early in that game. I think they started thinking about the after party and we're Super Bowl champions. Before half, they were probably even thinking. I can remember being on PAT after they had scored to make it 28. They were very, very confident and happy and laughing and giggling and, we got this thing. And then at the end, they're crying. So it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy roller coaster when you're happy thinking about your Super Bowl ring. And then at the end, you're crying and then now look at the Falcons. That owner might not even ever see one.
And he was dancing early, I think.
He was happy. So that's football. My nephew just lost his playoff game. He's a senior. He was crying. And I told him, I said, don't take this team lightly. Don't take anybody lightly, because at the end, you're going to be crying. And that's what happens in the game of football. When you lose the big game, it hurts.
It does, without a doubt. Rob, how hard of a decision was it for you to walk away? Did you contemplate? I know you got injured. You had a couple hiccups, but I mean, because they say football players die two deaths, and the first is when you exit the game. And hearing your narration before doesn't seem like that, but I'm sure it weighed on you to make the decision, because it, like you said about the camaraderie, chemistry, locker room, extension of your family.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely difficult to make that decision. That's all I knew. But I had confidence in myself that I could rebrand myself and put myself in a position to be successful. My personal feeling is if I have worked the way that I worked to get to the NFL and to have the career I had, if I put the same effort and have the same mentality towards anything else, I don't know if I could fail at it. I think, with the work ethic and the things you learn in football, that's why I like to tell parents all the time, play football, put your kids in a program, put your kids in athletics, because when you play a sport and you have a team, it teaches you things in life that you don't ever get. You will never learn the values of teamwork, dedication, being selfless, maximizing what you have, pushing yourself beyond where you think you can be. And sports that does that. And once you have that mentality and you have that athletic mindset, the real world is pretty simple, because nobody else has that like kind of cuckoo-ness. Like, I'm a little bit crazy and everyone will tell you like Ninko might be nuts, but I'm going to win. And if the only way I'm not winning is if I ain't breathing. So, I feel like in any business, if you have that mindset, it's going to be tough to lose.
Yeah, it is. Obviously you had a chance to play with one of the greatest, if not, I think the greatest quarterback ever in Brady. What was that like? I mean, obviously you practiced with him every day. You lost the Super Bowl with him. You won 2 with him. Can you maybe he's still going hard at 43. Can you maybe just touch on,
Yeah. Tom is, I think a lot of people nobody knows Tom unless you either played with him or you're friends with him. I happen to be both. So anyone that doesn't know Tom or hasn't been his teammate, they just see what media puts out there, or they see what people write, or, they read something about Tom and then they cast opinions. Tom is by far one of the most humble people I know based on what he is. And my grandpa John used to talk about levels in life. And I'll give everyone this lesson that my grandfather would tell me. He would say normal people are at this level, right? You're at just regular, normal, working class, normal level. He'd always tell me, Rob, you're at a different level. You're at another level. And once you get past a certain amount of levels in life, you're an alien, right? So aliens, they don't eat what we eat. They don't drink what we drink. They don't drive what we drive. They don't sleep where we sleep. They do absolutely nothing that we do. And Tom's an alien celebrity, right? He is the best of the best. His wife, makes more than he does, supermodel. He lives up here, but but the way he was raised is still right here with everybody else. Like, he's still humble. He'll still, hey, what's up, Rob? How you doing? How's the kids? How's the wife? You need anything? Let me know. So it's hard to find people like that, really successful people. Sometimes they could be just not very nice and not great people. Tom has always been super nice, super humble. Now, don't get on his bad side, because then he might tell you something else. But if he respects you as a player and he respects you as a teammate, he's the nicest guy in the world. And I've said it before. We were in captain's meetings. I looked over at him. I said, man, that's a nice watch. He had Tag Heuer on. And I said, hey, do you got a guy that I can contact? And he looked at me kind of like, yeah, I got a guy, Rob. So fast forward a week, I went up to my locker and there was a box there, it was wrapped in just brown paper. Didn't look like a gift. It was just a box in brown paper. So I'm like, oh, what's this? I opened it up. It was that exact watch from Tag Heuer. And I was like, dude, that's insane. Thank you. Really, I really appreciate that. So then he was wearing a jacket. He had a Canada Goose jacket on. He came in the building. It was red. I said, man, that's nice. Fast forward a couple weeks, had a brand new Canada Goose sitting right there wrapped up for me. So then I said, man, that sports car you rolled up in, man, that is nice. Well, I never got the Aston Martin. Okay. I never got the Aston Martin, but he's a nice, very nice, great teammate, humble human. And I wish nothing but the best for him. In Tampa, I know everyone's been on him when he has a bad game, but that's not all on him. That's on, that's why they call it team sport. And that it's not just one guy. He needs an offensive line. And I wish him the best in Tampa. I hope he can go out. I always want this for everybody who ever plays a sport or any business. I want everyone to finish what they feel like they need to do to retire, to be whatever Tom needs to do. I hope he can do it. I really, really want him to do it. I want him to feel complete. I want him to ride off into the sunset. I want him to win a Super Bowl in Tampa, get in his Aston Martin with Giselle, and freaking go to just hit it, So we'll see what happens. But well, yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens. But I wish nothing but the best for the best quarterback of all time.
If you had to guesstimate, how long is he playing till? You said 45. You think he goes? You think he played?
I feel like you're playing with fire in your late, mid 40s. It only takes one hit or one. Look at Drew Brees right now. He's got 5-6 broken ribs, punctured lung. I mean, that probably wouldn't have happened to him if he was 30. So it's just when you play football in your 40s, I couldn't imagine. I'm 36. I couldn't imagine playing football. Like, it's too brutal.
That's a good point. We got obviously talking about the GOAT. We've got to talk about the other GOAT. Playing for, I feel, the greatest football coach in NFL history. What was it? Can you maybe elaborate on that experience, Rob, for our listeners? Obviously in a league of parity and free agency and salary cap, this guy has done it. And, he's been able to really do it, bringing the right guys in to eat and breathe the Patriot way. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on Bill Belichick?
Yeah, Bill's genius. Bill is, in every sense of the word, the smartest coach to ever coach this game. And I say that because I've heard every single day everything that he goes through. his situational awareness, his football knowledge, not only on defense, but special teams and offense. There's nobody else out there that knows a fraction of what Bill knows about football. Even historically, he's a genius. So I think it's special. Probably the best thing and the most special thing that Bill can do is he's able to bring a team together year in and year out and forget about the year before. Last year isn't going to help us moving forward. He's able to take that team wherever they finished, even if it was a Super Bowl, and bring them all back down to basement level. And he's building the foundation. He talks about it all the time. You can have a beautiful mansion. You can build a massive house. But if the foundation is built on a crumbling foundation that isn't solid and secure, then that house isn't going to last. And you're not going to be able to get through a storm or some type of adversity. And that's just like a football team. If you don't put in the time and you don't put in the effort and you don't build the foundation early before you build the house, which is the house is a reflection of the season. If you don't have the off season, you don't have the OTAs and mini camp, the training camp, you don't put all those things together. You don't build the trust and the communication and the unverbal things that you need on a football team when you're on that football field. You can have a great game. Sure, you could win a few, but when the tough game comes up and the wind's howling and you just against the Ravens, it was windy, nasty. Guess what? They won that football game off of toughness. And Bill always talks about a foundation. So he's able to build that foundation year in and year out for 20 years. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else will do that. And his ability to do that is mind-boggling. I don't know how he does it. He has lucked out a few times on certain players. Tom Brady, coming on, get that guy late, comes on to be the best of all time. He seems to always guess right on guys that aren't high draft picks or free agents like Julian Edelman. They just come in and they work and they look at what is there. And with it's, I feel like they do a great job of keeping leadership in a position where the young guys listen, watch, learn. Some teams you come in, there is no leadership at the top. So the young guy really just he's just floating around. In the Patriots, there's always Bill. Then you have like 5 or 6 veteran players that have been there a long time who kind of show you the ropes. Shut up, do your job, don't say much, just go compete and win. And when those young players start to become veterans, those older guys are gone, like myself. I've retired. A lot of guys have come and gone. But then you have your McCourties. You have guys that are there. And then the younger guys are watching, learning. They're going to come up, and then you're going to get young guys coming in. So it's almost like it always is going like this. The old guys go, and the young guys step it up. So Bill does a tremendous job with that. Hats off to Bill Belichick. You would know this, Sean. He's one of the hardest negotiators
you better bring
ever in the sport. Because if he has a belief about you and he thinks you're worth something, he'll never go over what that is. He'll never splurge. He'll never take a chance. He is calculated in everything that he does. It'd almost be better to catch Bill when he's not expecting you to talk to him about a contract than to actually have a time and a place to talk about contracts. Because when he's prepared, there ain't no way.
Nope. You definitely have to bring your A game, and negotiating with the Patriots on many players over the last decade. It was a lot of ping pong. It was a lot of, trying to get concessions that weren't met. But I respect the fact that, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Obviously.
But the only thing I'd say about them is they do that with everybody. So there's no treatment there. They do it with Tom Brady. Look, Tom's not there probably because he wasn't making a certain amount of money and they weren't willing to go there. And then Tom, eventually goes somewhere else. So they do it to everybody. There's no favoritism. There's no special treatment. It is what it is because it's the system.
Nope, it is the system. And, I'm sure you got stories, and I definitely have some stories that I won't put out publicly. Yeah. But when I see you, I'd like to hone in on. Rob, one question. You had some former teammates saying, the dynasty was all because of Tom Brady.
I don't believe that. So this is the thing too, Sean. I'll say this. People ask me all the time, is it Bill or is it Tom? And this season in particular, there's this, Tom loses week 1, Bill wins, and you see Brady on the bench, and Bill's like drinking his orange juice. Like, it's not about Tom versus Bill. Tom helped Bill become the greatest coach of all time, and Bill helped Tom be the greatest quarterback of all time. Without those guys, I don't think there would be this dynasty. There wouldn't be what we have and what we've witnessed the last 20 years. So Bill and Tom make each other the greatest of all time. If you take one apart, I don't know what it would be. You can't do it, because if you do it, then it's fake. That's hypothetical. They were here for 20 years. They did a lot of great things. They're both going in the Hall of Fame because they were both together. End of story. That's how I take it.
Rob, you're a reasonable person and a very bright individual, and I think that was well said. And I think anyone that says it was all Tom or all does not know football, does not have that football IQ or the ability to think like yourself. And I definitely tip my hat to that. But Rob, obviously, look, you've had success, but along the way, you've had a great significant other, and you got your, I know your kids are young. Can you maybe a little bit on your relationship with your wife and your kids? Because let's face it, Rob, you've done a lot, but the greatest, I think, accomplishment, I'm sure you agree, is your children.
Yeah. No, I mean, I lucked out. I say it all the time. When I was going into the draft, my mom asked me, what's the one team you don't want to go to? I said, I don't want to go to the Saints. Of all places, I don't want to go to New Orleans. And guess what? I got drafted to the Saints. So the greatest thing that came out of that was my wife, Paige. I met Paige in New Orleans. We've been together ever since. From that, I have my 3 beautiful children. So New Orleans was the best place I could have ever been drafted to. At the time, I thought it was the worst place, but now looking back, that's fate. That's how God works. God puts you in places that you aren't expecting. And when you're not expecting something, great things come along. And for me, Paige has definitely been my support system throughout my whole career. She's a terrific mother. And, in 2013, I had my first child, Via. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for my career. I just started to look at the things I was doing on the field, and I was like, look, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to put myself out here like this when I have people at home that are going to need me. Because honestly, at the end of the day, in 20, 30 years from now, when, if anything ever happens to me, the Patriots aren't helping me with anything. It's going to be my kids, and it's going to be my family, my wife. So for me, at the end of my career, I said, look, I don't necessarily owe anybody anything. I had a great career. I owe it to my family to make the right decisions here and to get out before I start to have any issues.
Rob, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a hardworking, dedicated person that is just at the ground level. I'm not up on anyone else. I'm not on a pedestal. People always say to me, Ninko, you're just so down to earth. Well, I'm just a normal person. I'm a normal guy. I wear LL Bean shirts. I wear Willwood disc brake t-shirts. It's just like, I love cars. I love dirt bikes. I love side-by-sides. I love football. I love beer. I love wings. Like, I love everything I love watches too, but I love everything that a normal 36-year-old man would love. So for me, I'm just a normal guy. I would want everyone to remember me as number one, a great family man, great dad. Number 2, a great football player who had a passion for the game and won 2 Super Bowls. And with doing all that, was still down to earth and humble.
Amen. And, we obviously, Rob, we know you like your wine. We've got I got to give a shout out to my co-hosts, Ari and Frank, to our sponsors, Legendary Foods and Visionary Dog Food, which, Rob, we're going to make sure we take care of you with Legendary. They do awesome organic Pop-Tarts, and they do assorted nuts, and they do a lot of nut butters. We'll get you a care package there. And then the dog food, you just got a puppy. This is one of the most organic dog foods you can eat. So we'll make sure they take care of you. But let's fast forward a little bit. We got Frank, the wine connoisseur. Rob, we know you like your red wine. If you're out with Paige, what are you drinking?
So in the COVID world right now, we might've been a little bit bougie, but I've been buying cases of Camus. So I've been buying the liter bottles of Camus, which are about 1.5 bottles. So that makes me think, oh, this is a good value. So I'll spend a little bit of money on a nice red wine. So I like Camus. If I'm gonna go with like just a quick, let's go get a bottle of wine, and let's not like break the bank here, I'll go with like a Decoy. It's about $20 a bottle.
Nice. Well, Rob, you had mentioned that we're all at home and we're dining at home and we're entertaining at home. So the good thing about this is that we're not paying the restaurant prices while having these great bottles at home, right? We're like paying a fraction of the cost. So not only does it taste better, but it feels better at the same token.
Yeah, and you could
Those
have
are-
3 bottles. You could have 3 bottles. You don't feel like you're gonna
Right.
not be able to pay the light bill.
But one thing to look out for, you mentioned some really good wineries, some good brands, Decoy from the Duckhorn family, who makes exceptional wine. But one thing that you said everyday drinking from the Camus family, look out for their new label called Bonanza. So
Bonanza.
the Camus family went into a second label so they can realize that, there are folks looking for good value and don't want to spend the 80 plus $100 a bottle these days.
Yep.
But the family now puts out a second label called Bonanza. So I definitely think it's up your alley since you drink wines of that caliber.
Nice. Bonanza. I'll write that down. Bonanza.
Yeah.
Bonanza by Camus.
Yep, Frank, and I'll make sure, Frank, you text me that. We'll make sure if Rob, if there's a little
Absolutely.
spelling issue, but we'll make sure, Frank has the cork stop, and we'll make sure we get together a nice little care package, Rob, that I'll get you some assortment of reds for you guys. Rob, we like to ask all of our guests. We have a handful of questions before we conclude. First question, Rob, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, favorite movie. I got a lot of those. Favorite, like football movie or just in general? Favorite movie.
In general.
Favorite movie in general. I would have to say, I'll just put it out there. Rudy's my favorite movie. I love Rudy. I've watched it a million times. I would watch it before like the AFC Championship. I'd watch Rudy. I'd lay in my bed and watch Rudy.
Can I say something to Rob? I've never seen Rudy ever, and my wife is a big football fan, and she's like, I can't believe we're married. I can't believe you've never seen Rudy. And I'm like, yeah, well. And I finally watched it. That was a great freaking movie. Like,
it is a good movie. It's a good
awesome.
movie. It's a heartwarming movie. It makes you feel like this is like anybody could do whatever they want if they put their mind to it. I love Rudy, the core values of it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, Rudy is, and I'm fortunate enough. I've developed quite the relationship with Angelo Pizzo, who's writing the screenplay, Rob, for No Backing Down, which hopefully you will be playing yourself in that. I think one of the coaches wearing some 1994 bike shorts and
Nice.
A cutoff. But great selection on favorite movie, Rudy. How about Rob? Favorite book?
You know what? I watched To Hell and Back by Audie Murphy. He was the most decorated World War II veteran. That book right there, just it puts you in a place where you really honestly couldn't think that anyone could ever endure, couldn't go through and make it out and be able to talk about it. So Audie Murphy, he's an American hero, and that book To Hell and Back is one of my favorites.
Excellent. My wife's grandfather, late grandfather, 3 medals fighting on the beaches of Normandy. So, yes, those World War II vets, special and
different breed, just a different everything.
Completely aliens in a way, right?
Aliens. Well, nowadays, I mean, just kids in general. I mean, back then, I don't know. Nobody has that same mentality about America and our country. Back then, everybody was willing to do whatever, not use cans or not use rubber, not eat chocolate, not do anything. They weren't doing anything as a group to try and help the war efforts. And guys were joining up at 17 years old to fight for their country, knowing that they could potentially die. I just think, unfortunately, in today's world, I don't know, some kids would probably want to go to Canada. They wouldn't even want to fight for our country, which is sad.
It is. Or say they got flat feet.
Yeah.
Rob, if you got one place in the world, where are you going on a vacation?
Croatia. I love Croatia. Yep. It's the best. The Dubrovnik, the beaches, the water. It's amazing.
Excellent. Now that's going to have to go on my bucket list. If you got one cheat meal, Rob, we know diet was a big part of your makeup.
Not anymore, man. I like to splurge a little bit now.
That's what I like to hear. I'm actually at a cheat day. It used to be Sundays. Now I'm doing Saturdays too. So I'm trying to avoid the dad bod. But that being said, what are you eating if you could have one thing that's a real cheat or pleasure for yourself?
I don't think pizza's a cheat meal. I think pizza's actually a good meal. So if I'm gonna do like a fast food, I love Chick-fil-A. So I'll go like Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Okay, Chick-fil-A.
Two Chick-fil-A, two sandwiches, original, no fries, extra pickle. That's my go-to.
Outstanding. Rob, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
I would probably tell myself, don't sweat the small stuff. I used to overreact a little bit if I felt somebody thought poorly of me, or if I was being, I guess if I was on the football field and I was worried about the evaluation process, I would always sweat it out for a long time. I'd think about every single thing that could possibly happen, and it was unnecessary, because at the end of the day, if you're confident and you're confident in your abilities, there's no need to worry. Everything's going to work itself out. Back when I was younger, I would overthink everything, and I would always worry about way too many things. And as I got older and I realized that a lot of things, you're not going to be able to make people's mind up if they're going to think a certain way about you. If you're just yourself, then if they like you, great. If they don't, F them.
Watch them in the rearview mirror.
Exactly. See you later. Like you can't make everybody like you. So don't sweat the small stuff. If somebody doesn't like you, who cares? There's a lot of people out there that do.
I'm constantly giving the Heisman to people, Rob. So it's all good. Staying in your lane, staying focused, staying passionate. Rob, final question. Can you maybe give your definition of success?
I think success, everyone has a different opinion of success. Some people might have to be in a business or win a Super Bowl. I don't think that's necessarily success. I think success is taking what life has given you and making the best of it is successful. And if somebody wants to be, their life ambition is to be a house mom and raise kids, and they're doing that, then that's success. So everybody else is going to view things differently. Everyone's going to view other people's accomplishments as success or not a success. But if at the end of the day, somebody is looking at themselves in the mirror and they're happy with that reflection, they're happy with where they're at in life, I think that's success.
And with that, we want to thank you, Rob, for taking the time out of your busy day. For people that don't know, Rob's now on TV, not playing in Hangover 4, actually as a commentator, a very good one. Anything else, Rob, you want to share with our listeners, what you're doing now?
Yeah, I just announced today I am partnering. I am half owners in Moms Motorsports. I am partnering with Joel Wheeler, who owns Moms. They're right off Route 1. They have 5 locations now. We have purchased Absolute Power Sports in Gorham, New Hampshire, and we are going to be opening Moms Jericho, which abuts to the Jericho National Park. That's about 7,000 acres. The dealership is going to attach to our land, which we just purchased 1,300 acres that abuts to Jericho State Park. So we're going to have a motorsports dealership with side-by-sides, four-wheelers, snowmobiles, dirt bikes, trailers, everything you could possibly imagine. It's going to be right there on the trail system. You can go to the dealership. You can hit up the trail system. And that is a new thing that I'm working on, and I'm excited to do that. Something I have a passion for, something I enjoy. And I couldn't think of a better place to take my kids and enjoy it up in New Hampshire by the White Mountains on 1,300 acres of my own land.
Awesome. Beautiful country up there. Rob, how can people our listeners find out more information about that?
So go to Moms, just go to Moms Motorsports and you'll see the website there. And on that website, you'll be able to click on the other dealerships that are opening up. The dealership that we just bought, Absolute Power Sports, is changing over to Moms Jericho, and that's happening this week. We started operating as of Monday under Moms, under the Moms company, but it's gonna change over here with COVID. We didn't have a grand opening. We're gonna have one eventually, but if you just look up Moms Motorsports, it's your largest New England dealer. It's 5th in the nation in sales. So they have a very good reputation. They're a family-owned company. And I'm not just doing this like as commercials. I'm 50% ownership in this new venture. So that is, I'm more skin in the game, so to speak. So I'll be up there at that dealership. I'm going to do a GM course, and I'm going to learn the ins and outs of the business. That's in my future as well. So you'll see me up there. I'll be up at the dealership. I'll be mingling with people. We're looking at expanding to a larger building, and that's all in the near future. So there's a lot of things that are about to be up and coming.
Outstanding. The man with many hats. Well, Rob, we want to greatly appreciate your time. As I mentioned, I know you don't have the most with the kids and now the puppy, but we want to thank you. Rob Ninkovich, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Patriots all-decade team, which is pretty damn cool. Former draft pick. That being said, he was part of the 2013 All-Joe team, which I'm sure was a little bit of fuel to the fire, but good recognition. We want, obviously wish you the best, Rob, in any future endeavor, good health, happiness. You've lived your bliss and you're spreading your word to the next generation, and we commend you for that. Always remember, Rob, there's no backing down.
I love it.
With that being said, we want to thank our sponsors, Legendary Food and Visionary Pet Food. We'll make sure, Rob, we're going to get you a nice care package of a red sorted wines from Frank up at Cork Stop. And we look forward to, hopefully we get through this COVID, and some listeners are seeing you at the draft party this April, and we get this quarantine and put this pandemic behind us. Last question to end it, Rob. Who is playing in this year's Super Bowl?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think that it could possibly be this might seem a little crazy. No one's going to believe me. But I think that it's going to be a potential Green Bay Packer Steelers rematch.
Oh.
Wow. Hey, you know what? Those are two solid teams, and the beauty of this is with the non-crowd games, right, Rob? That takes out the differentiator. Playing in some loud stadiums should be interesting. Well, that being said, here he is from the man himself, Rob Ninkovich. Thanks again, Rob.
Thank you.
Well, and take care. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Be
Thank
good.
You, Rob. Nice to meet
Thanksgiving,
you.
Rob.
Nice to meet you, Rob.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hey, don't be afraid to put some Harlan Estate in that gift bag.
You got it. I was just thinking that.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we got you, Rob.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.